Hey everyone, it's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. We are back for yet another unboxing video. I know it's been a while since we've done one, but one of the reasons for that is we were doing a lot of preparation for the garage sale that we had recently, and then I had like a weekend trip, and we've had a bunch of other things just going on at night that have just made it not possible to get to the boxes. So we literally have not opened another box since the last time I did an unboxing video, and that was a few weeks ago. So now I've moved some things around because this is where we had the garage sale, but there still are things that are consolidated onto this one pallet, and then there's some stuff back there as well. So I have my eye on two boxes that we're going to focus on today. There's one that has a bunch of the Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing type of books, but there's always been like little surprises that are kind of worked into these things that are interesting. You never know. We find like some random toys or some random games, and there's all sorts of just interesting be on the lookout items that you know, come out of these videos. So hopefully there's going to be some more here. So we've got a big box right here. That one right in the back corner, and then there's this one right here in the corner. So we're gonna go for two corners today, two corner slices. I'm saying that from a pizza fan right there. Let's say two corner slices. Okay, so this is just a close-up of one of them that I'm gonna grab. This one here, which I said was Dungeons and Dragons, and I think there might be some of that in here, but actually, kind of a closer look right now. I don't know if there is actually any of it in there, but there's role-playing game books, and there's all sorts of like trade paperbacks and stuff. So we'll take a closer look in there, see what we can find. And then over here, we've got some comic books. Looks like an all comic book box, but we'll have to do some digging to see if there's anything good. And so let's take them inside and see what we've got. Okay, so Daisy is in the house, and as you can see here, I have some prior comic book. No way! No way, this was not planned. I swear this was not planned. This is insane. Just before I turned this on, Mrs. Primetime said, "What new mutants are you looking for?" And I said 98, the first appearance of Deadpool. I have been talking about this book forever with you. I cannot believe, I'm so happy I got this on video, that I have been looking for this to spontaneously show up in a collection for the longest time, and I finally have one. This is the first appearance, I just said it, but this is the first appearance of Deadpool, this character right here. This book is worth several $100s depending on the condition that you find it in. Now, unfortunately, you know, we could see here that there's some creases on the side, so that's gonna really just bump it down in terms of value. But it's still a great book no matter what. I mean, people are still going to pay up for the first appearance of Deadpool no matter what. This is going to have to go up tonight. Now, you know, in general, when you see a crease like this, like big creases kind of, and, you know, we've got the corner crease there, that's going to pretty much bump it down into what we call fine condition. So that's two steps down from near mint. From near mint, you go to very fine, and then you go to fine. It's not bad. I mean, it's a 6.0 on the 10-point scale, so it's not terrible. But let's see the back of it. Let's see if there's anything back here that we could see in terms of any major flaw. Okay, that's good. The cover is on good. Got to be a little careful with this one because we don't want to get any more damage. In fact, I'm going to turn this off and put it on with better light. Hold on. So just so you know, Mrs. Primetime's just telling me that she had this plan that she had been going through those books, and she knew that I've been looking for New Mutants 98. So she waited until, so it was kind of, I guess, planned on her part, not on my part. She knew that I've been looking for that. She wanted to see my reaction. So she just kind of put it right in front of me as soon as I turned the camera on to begin the video. So that's really funny. She's been playing practical jokes on me with New Mutants 98 for the longest time. I mean, for years. Just making a joke that she found it in the box or something like that. So, I mean, you know, when she put it right there, I couldn't believe you could rewind and see my reaction. It's just, but you know, it is pretty decent. I mean, really, we've got some flaws here, but I mean, nothing major. We don't have like any big rips or anything. Let's see, this is the, you know, kind of typical condition of what the pages would look like. We want to make sure there's no, you know, no rips or anything like that. You know, the paper back then for comic books was not made on good quality paper. It was not made on shiny paper like you see nowadays. It was made on like, you know, newspaper quality paper. So it's so see, we've got a crease here. So that's gonna have to be something that's mentioned, that we have a crease here. Now you wanna, when you find these creases like this, you wanna make sure you unfold them. And, you know, you do have to mention it though. That's why it's worth, you know, going through, especially, you know, an expensive book like this. You have to declare that. So let's hope it's not on the page, the main page that Deadpool shows up on. No, because that would really stink. Okay, let's see. Let's keep going through this. We've got a crease on that one too. So we've got 2 pages with a crease. So all this, folks, all this is going to decrease value of the book for a comic collector. They don't want creases in there. Here we go. Here we've got Deadpool right here. Let's see if it was over here. Now the story is, funny thing, the story here is really not that great of a story, but because it's his first appearance, that's what makes it so valuable. This is a character called Cable. His first appearance, by the way, is in New Mutants 87. So Mrs. Primetime, find me a New Mutants 87 in there. That one's also valuable. Not as valuable as this one though. You know, if this was in mint condition or near mint, you know, really don't find things in mint too much. But if it was in near mint condition, that would be something you would consider definitely sending off to get graded. This is exciting though, to find this, and everything else looks okay. We've got a couple creases to deal with, but you know, I should be able to just put this up tonight and make this sale pretty quick, as long as I just, you know, price it according to where the market is at right now with this book. So I know you're probably sick of seeing this book, especially if you don't know much about comic books, but this really is one of the most sought after current books that's out there. Everyone talks about it. New Mutants 98 right there, found as the first part of the video. I still cannot get over this. Okay, this is the box that New Mutants 98 was found in. It was the one that you saw me just grab in that corner in the garage. And I told you there's all sorts of miscellaneous things in these boxes sometimes. Now, we've been fortunate in other videos that we've done unboxing to find things that were valuable, like we found the Muscle Men in there, we found the Battle Beasts inside, like little toys. We found a cool AA book, Alcoholics Anonymous book that I sold for like 40 bucks or 35 bucks. So there's miscellaneous things. This is not worth anything. And if you're brand new to reselling and you see a bunch of National Geographics at garage sales, which I guarantee you're gonna find them, and you're definitely gonna find them at estate sales piled up high, and trust me, they do not sell. And so they cannot give these things away at estate sales. Do not pick these things up. You are wasting your time and wasting your money. The only time you want to pick up National Geographics is if you are dealing with ones that are super old. Now those could be collectible. Like we're talking like early 1900s and stuff. That's when you would get these types of books, you know, or else, you know, if you get them, you know, you just want to maybe hang on to them for educational purposes for your kids or something like that. But besides that, or maybe for you, but there's no real resale value in these National Geographics. There is a random map, it looks like, over here. Let's see what we've got here. You know what, this had to have come out of one of the National Geographic books, because see, that's the symbol for National Geographic right there. We've got that little yellow rectangle. So it's the Amazon. It's probably like a map of Brazil or something, but this is not anything that's going to have any value, or I should say map of South America. Let's see here. Yeah, that's what it is. But this isn't going to be anything that has value. Now, you could use it for like an art project or something crafty. I bet Mrs. Primetime could find a use for this for like her arts and crafts stuff. But in terms of like reselling this, you know, not going to have value. It's just a, you know, standard National Geographic map. But just want to point that out because you are going to see a lot of these things out at sales. So this book in near mint to mint condition, so on 9.8 on a 10-point scale, seriously sells for about $900. Now, this one has some flaws in it, and it's not formally graded or certified or put in a plastic slab or anything like that. So that being the case, the value on this one, I would estimate, just based on comps, will be somewhere around $170 for this book. And not bad considering, you know, this was just a surprise find, and this whole palette is profit at this point anyway. So it's just, you know, a nice treat, a nice treasure. You know, there's lots of comic books, you know, that we're going to find in here, like, you know, this one here that's essentially, you know, not worth anything or not worth much. But, you know, you find something like this, and this is the kind of stuff that just makes these hauls really worth it. All right, so with that big surprise to start off behind us, let's go and look through this box and see what we can find in here. And if Mrs. Primetime finds New Mutants 87, I'm sure she'll let us know. So let me tuck this back here. We've got one of these coverless Marvel superheroes role-playing games. These are from the 1980s. I've showed these before. You can see here, we've got 1988. I've got a bunch of the loose covers out there, and so this probably goes with one of those loose cover items. These sell really well, especially when you combine them together with other ones of these Marvel books, and just so, you know, you could see inside. I mean, they're just basically detailed, you know, basically rules for how to play the game, and they have little pictures of some of the characters in there and stuff. And, you know, you can see here, these are thin books, a lot of these role-playing guides. I mean, we're talking about like 28, 30 pages, that kind of thing. And as long as you have all the pages pretty much, people will still sometimes buy them even without the cover, although the covers are obviously preferred, but you know, they'll still buy them sometimes without the cover because, you know, they want to play the game, and this is what has all the instructions in it. So we'll put this one aside to search for the cover for it later on. So this one here, Champions, and the problem I could already feel from the back, you see, this is what happens when books get warped through moisture exposure. And what happens here, if you could maybe see this, you see this waviness that comes right here. It almost feels like you're going up and down a hill. That is bad. And people are generally not going to want to have books. And you can see here, look at that. That's all mold right there. So this book right here, this is something we cannot sell. There's sometimes ways to restore books that have some mold in it, but this is not one that would be worth taking on that type of project. It's easier to get rid of the mold when the mold is just inside the book here. But you see here, all this yellowing, all of these ripples in the book. No one's gonna want this, and so do not sell someone a book like this. You've got to just toss it. There's really nothing you could do to salvage something like this. It's just one of those things. When you buy these collections, okay, again, you got to keep this in mind. You are going to find just things that are just damaged, they're ripped, it's just part of it. You got to factor that into when you're purchasing things. You know, the person you're buying it from might try to convince you that everything is you know, perfect and near mint, but that's never the case. And I tell them that when I make the purchase. I say there's going to be things in here that are going to be damaged, you're going to have to throw out, and you use that to negotiate the price. So this one, just garbage. Now, hopefully this one is not the same, and I'll tell you why I'm saying that. Because this word right here, Warhammer, that word you want to write down if you don't know anything about these role-playing game books. I've showed one of them before in one of my videos, but Warhammer is a very, very popular role-playing game series, and people will just sit around tables for hours and play with the figures and stuff. So we just got to hope that we don't have warping of the book, and I don't see any evidence of this. So you know, this book right here, by the way, I don't even think it really had much value, but this one here should. So let's check out the year for this. It's probably in the 90s somewhere. Let's nope, it just gets into the 2000s. So that's a 2001 book, but looks okay. You know, we don't see any kind of mold or any kind of, you know, staining or anything like that in here. So this will be a good one. Should be able to sell this and get a good profit out of this one. So now here we go again. We've got another one of these Warhammer books, and this one has a little bit of damage to the side, but I'm not really too worried about it. And you could even see it here. I mean, it's not ideal, but this is not something you'd want to throw out. Even this here, you know, it's got like a little bit of, you know, peeling on the side. You know, there are things that you would disclose, and there are things that, you know, are going to take the value of the book down. But, you know, depending on how many of these are still out there, you know, there could still be a demand for this book. And, you know, you could package it in a combo if you find like another Warhammer book that's damaged. Let's see what the age of this one is. The older it is, the greater there's going to be a chance of getting some value out of the book, even if it's damaged like this. So let's see, it should be over here. Now, see, this is what's good. This is a 1986 book. So let me go check the comps on this one. I'll get back to you and tell you what I find out. All right, well, I just checked the comps on this, and in terms of right now, people selling this, the closest that we have to being able to find this is the hardcover version. No one has the softcover version, but soft covers go less, obviously, than hardcovers. So there is someone who has this right now for, there's only a few people have one, but one person has it for $85. It has 7 watchers on it. So this one we're just gonna have to scale down accordingly in price and just see what we get out of it. So, you know, the way I'll just kind of pitch this is that this is a book for somebody who really cares about this, the inner contents, and doesn't care about cover condition. I'll literally say that in the ad. This way, you know, it's very clear to the person who purchases it that, you know, they're getting something that has some flaws on the outside, but the inside is, you know, pretty decent, as you can see. So it's good to just be transparent because that will decrease the risk of your returns, I promise. Okay, now this one here is Cosmos Cubed, and it's the resource book, whereas this one over here was the adventure book. So these two go together. Again, they don't have covers, but we'll hopefully find those later. They could be out there, I don't remember, or they could be in another box that we haven't gotten to yet. We've got another coverless one, but this one has a little bit of separation down here, and I'm not totally sure which one this is. It looks like some kind of, almost like an encyclopedia, basically, of characters. And so, you know, I'll have to, again, later look to see if we could find the actual, hopefully all the pages are here, because it goes to XYZ. Oh, here we go, yeah. It's a roster book. The Marvel Superheroes roster book. Now that's cool, as long as it's complete. It's 1990, so we're just getting out of the 80s with that. But again, hopefully we can find a cover that'll bring some value to this. You know, that again, these little rips and stuff, this all detracts value. So, you know, you hate to see that kind of thing, but you know, when you're buying a big lot, again, that's what you're gonna deal with sometimes. Okay, let's see. I'm just kind of turning this around to make it a little easier to see, so we bring this better into view in terms of what the titles are. Let's get these out of the way real quick. Let's see what we've got here. Awesome. I'll tell you why I like this. Anytime you see these kind of scary pictures like this, these horror pictures, these are things that tend to have value. People just love the horror stuff. So I do very well with it. When you mix horror with a role-playing game, so like a fantasy type book, you know, they generally are things people are looking for. So, and this one looks like it's in decent shape. Doesn't look like there's any damage or, you know, wrinkles or creases or anything like that. So we'll just put this one to the side and check the comps on it later. Let's see, what we have here is a Prima's official strategy guide. Now, what I will tell you about this is that you're gonna see these a lot at garage sales, these Prima strategy guides. And for the most part, they're really not worth that much. I mean, it really depends on the game in many instances. So, you know, you do have to always look it up. I mean, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six game is, you know, popular, but not anything that people go crazy over. So I'd be surprised if this one has any value, but I'll look it up later and we'll check it out some more. Let's see what we've got over here. Champions #2, that must be related to this one here, which says Champions. Now, this is separate from Marvel Comics has a series called Champions. That, if you could find the full set of that, is worth something. But this is different. I don't know this series, so I'm going to have to look it up. One of the cues for me would be the age of the book. And the good thing, again, here, anytime we're in the 80s with these types of books, it's good. But this one here, we're in the early 90s. So, you know, I don't know. We're going to have to check it out, and we're going to have to see later. Okay, this is good. This is one of these Marvel Superheroes campaign sets that I'm talking about. This one actually has the cover, so that's good. And even though this is early 90s, that's okay, because for these Marvel role-playing game books, even the ones in the 90s, they sell well. So we're going to just put this one with the other Marvels and see what we're going to do with that later. I haven't sold any of these yet from this palette collection, but that's why I'm just holding on to seeing how many of them we wind up pulling out. Now I see something here I automatically like, which is Tarot Witch of the Black Rose right there. Volume number 1. Unfortunately, I had to move all of these to the adult section of eBay. For those of you who don't know, there is an adult section of eBay, and it definitely causes problems in terms of getting exposure to your items. So I think eBay has like some scanner or something that kind of looks through some of the images and kind of flags things automatically. And so something like this has gotten flagged before, and then they pull the listing down. And if that happens enough, you could get in trouble. So I'll be putting this up on the adult section of eBay at some point. I'm not sure exactly when. And speaking of that, then Tarot Witch of the Black Rose. Mrs. Primetime found a couple of these sitting in the other comic book box there. So we found a few of these in other videos, so I will just lump those over there. And you know, here I was talking recently about variant comic books, and you could tell that one of these is a variant because these are both issue number 49 from March. So you just have to look up. Some of these could be worth a lot of money, depending on what variant it is. And so we'll just have to check that out at a later point. And there's a few other of these girl comic books that are definitely ones worth picking up, especially Vampirella, very, very popular character. That is a really cool cover there too. Oh, and another Tarot Witch of the Black Rose came through. Let's see, what issue is that? That's number 69. And then we've got another Vampirella comic book. So anything with Vampirella usually sells pretty well. So we've got that. And then Gen 13, this is another comic book series that you should look out for too. It is, you know, also has its like dedicated fan base that if you find enough of these, you could sell them in a nice lot and do pretty well with Gen 13. So keep that one in mind too as a title. Okay, I'm gonna go over to these here because there's some that have bags around them, and usually things with bags around them are worth more. That's why someone puts a bag around it to protect it. But you know, sometimes like this one here, this voodoo book, this is not really worth much. This is like worth less than 10 bucks. So sometimes people put things in bags thinking that down the road it might be worth something, but then it just doesn't turn out to be. And that's the case here. So this one actually doesn't have any significant value, so we'll just put it to the side. This one here, yeah, I could see why the person put this one in bag because it's Vampirella. So, you know, this is just a thick Vampirella comic book, essentially. There looks to be from the side some more here, some more Vampirellas, that is. Now, if these were not, unfortunately, damaged like you see here, like, see this right here? That's all water damage, moisture damage. You can't do anything with this. You can't sell it. But what we're going to do is we are going to, I say we, but really Mrs. Primetime is going to take elements of this book and she is going to do decoupage with it. And she will make, like, for example, this is perfect, right? You could take this, right? And you can make a frame like that. Look at that. That's awesome. This is really cool. So she can make like an, I'm telling you, she will take this out. She will make a decoupage frame out of this and sell this for like 30 bucks. She has done that before and she's very talented with what she does. And so I'm looking forward to her doing this one. So here, this one you should definitely make a frame out of. That's a good one. I don't know, this one here, this one seems okay. Let's see, we've got another one here. You know, see, I could already tell. You could tell when you feel them, like if you're getting like a lot of resistance to it, and you'll hear, I'm gonna just be quiet for a second, but you're gonna hear like a crinkle noise. That crinkle noise is a sound that means you've got a problem. So let me have you hear this for a second, okay? You don't want to hear that noise. You just don't. That's just, you know, the page is just becoming more rigid, especially the cover. You know, if you look at it and you shine it in the proper light, like you're going to see like it's just not really sitting right, and it's kind of wavy. any kind of waviness like that is just not good. So pages curling up and stuff like that, just not good. You see how the cover's kind of warped there. All that stuff causes problems and just makes the books not worth anything. So these must have been stored in an area that had moisture problems, and that's why a lot of these books are having problems with them. So let's see where we got here. Birds of Prey. Now here's another problem, okay? These here all have these library, well, not all of them, but some of them have library stickers on them. Now, let's see, could we peel? No, because you see what they did? They laminated the entire spine. So when they do that, they essentially make the book, again, worthless. This just becomes like an art project book for us. Like over here too. You know, normally when you see the name Jack Kirby, that's something you want to zoom in on and you want to focus on, because Jack Kirby's a famous comic book artist from back in the day from Marvel. Did a lot of work with Stan Lee. So this would have been something, you know, potentially good, but unfortunately, again, we've got you know, library book stuff pasted to the side of it, and not only that, they also slapped it right on the front like that with all this tape on it. I mean, it's just, you know, I hate when they do that because it just damages the book. And let's see here, like, look at this, like, you see how that's laying. You see all of that, all of this is damaged. You can't sell this book. This book is just, it's just a worthless book. And I want you to see this though, because when you are outsourcing and you see a book that looks like a W on the side, this is not something that you want to pick up. I mean, it should be perfectly straight. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. So again, worthless from a reselling perspective, but good potential from an art project perspective. So these are nice, colorful pages inside that Mrs. Primetime will be able to do something with. You know, we really try as much as possible to try to scavenge the items and get what we can out of it, so that we're not just tossing it out and wasting it. So if you have anyone in your family, or, you know, if you have art talents, think of that as a possibility. There's all sorts of different things. I've showed this at comic book conventions, that people will take pages like this and they will paste them to things like, they'll decoupage them onto bowls, onto not only picture frames, but they'll put it on all sorts of different objects and, you know, just make kind of like their own creative pieces out of it. So there's all sorts of stuff that you could do with it. Okay, so let's try to find one that's not damaged, and I'm gonna focus on this one here because it is Silver Surfer, and for those of you who know, or for those of you who are curious and don't know, this is my favorite comic book character. I love him because he, you know, could explore the entire realm of outer space, which there's so much to explore there and look for, and I love just kind of following him on his adventures when he goes and, you know, on that skateboard and goes all around the universe there. And this book seems to be in decent shape. I don't see any obvious problems with it. Like, unlike the other one, you could see here, it's reasonably straight going across on this side and over here as well. Another thing I will tell you, now this is okay. This is totally normal right here. These are just normal, you can see inside. It's just an extension of the colors inside. But sometimes what you'll see when they discard books, and you might miss it when you're sourcing, is they will take a black marker in the stores and they'll just put a black marker right across the top. And that will take some of the value off of the book. So that's something you want to be sure that you look for. Don't just look at the front. Also, what I'm trying to teach you in this video is to make sure you look at the sides and look at how the book is laying. That not only goes for these thicker books, but also goes for regular comic books as well. Now this bends back like a little bit, but that's because of just how I was holding it. Where you really know you have a problem is if you're laying the book straight down like this and then the cover is bending up and popping up. That is a sign of moisture exposure. But this one actually looks okay, so I'm happy that the Silver Surfer one is decent. Let's see what we've got here. Again, I could feel too much resistance when I am trying to press into these books, that we've got some water damage and moisture damage on this book. And you could see here, you could see how it's rippling up. This is a problem right there. And this is exactly what I was talking about. So when you see how, when I had the book kind of laying here like this, it's kind of naturally just kind of bending upwards like that. That's again just because of the the moisture exposure there, and it's kind of bending up there too, like in an upwards direction. So that's a kind of a better view of it right there. You see that? It should never do that. And if you see that, I would just tell you, if you're sourcing, don't pick up the book. You're just gonna be disappointed, and you're gonna have a pretty upset customer here. That's another look at it. So I'm just trying to give you different angles of what to look for when you're outsourcing, so you don't pick up books that have these issues. So put that one aside. Let's see here, you know, this is a good example of, let me kind of get a better view of, you could see how the pages here are kind of, you see how they're rippling like that inside? They're kind of curving. That's a sign right there, without even opening it, that you have a problem. And not only that, you could also see that they're discolored. Like you see like there's like a bit of yellowing on that. You don't want that. Now, why am I able to talk so calmly about this where I have this whole thing of books that are damaged? Well, one, because I pulled out, or Mrs. Primetime pulled out New Mutants number 98, and so that kind of like everything, you know, else tonight is just kind of a wash. Like that's like the best find, and so you know, and like I said, already in profit in the collection, you'd rather have all these things, you know, be in great condition, but this is what's going to happen. I want to show you the reality of it. I don't want to just show you, you know, every book that's in near mint condition. You know, you're going to have this happen, and you need to know that this is a normal thing that can happen sometimes. Hopefully though, let's see this Jack Kirby one here. Let's hope that this one is okay. And this one is okay. Now, you know, compared to the other ones, you can see how like when I'm pulling up on it, I'm not getting any resistance. And notice this, just listen, you're not going to hear any crackling noise at all when I pull up on this one, okay? So just listen here compared to before. Mrs. Primetime doing a little practical joke, but see, you don't hear anything there. There's no noise whatsoever. Okay, now compare what you just heard with this one here, which you could see has the obvious water damage here. You're going to hear some crinkling and crunching noises here. Hey, sleepyhead. Oh boy. We just want to get you on video. Just say hi to your family. Oh, what's it? No, don't be scared. Don't be scared. That's just daddy coming by to say hello. That's all. You don't have to be scared. Oh my God. Say hi to Lauren and Mary and Esme and all of your fans out there. Say hi to Jessie Shops. She's probably watching this right now. They all want to say hello to you. They all do. This is you. Oh my gosh. Boy, you did a lot of quality inspection work, didn't you? Yep. We just got to work you in before you go to bed. I had to get up and stretch a minute, so everyone wants to see you. Okay, everyone. So Mrs. Primetime went up to bed with Daisy, and what I've been doing now that I've got myself kind of just resituated down here after my foot was going numb from basically how I'm sitting, is I'm just separating out ones that I could actually salvage that didn't get damaged, and ones like this that did get damaged. And you could see here just again like how wavy that is right there. I mean, that's just, you know, you can't. Here, look at it from that perspective, right? You see that? It's like a water slide almost, like a roller coaster or a big hill. You just can't do anything with that. You know, this one here, this one's even worse. I mean, look at that. Look how warped and distorted these things are. That's why proper care of books is so important. Like something like this should have been kept inside, you know, on a bookshelf or something like that. Or if you're going to keep it in something like this, you have to bag and board these things. I mean, look what happens to them if you just expose them to moisture. It just destroys the book. So you got to be careful with your comic books and your paper items so that this does not happen to you. I'm just going to keep separating, and I'll show you what I wind up with at the end here. Well, before I show you what we get to at the end, you know, sometimes, you know, from the side, you know, something might look okay, like this first one right here. But then when you take it out, look what we've got. We've got the library label right there, and we've got the library label up top with a marker cross out. Just kills the value, folks. All right, well, I have another be on the lookout item for you right here. This is Hellboy, and Hellboy is pretty distinctive looking. He's got this bright red skin and this muscular physique and a pretty distinct looking face with these yellow eyes. He never really looks too happy. He has a strong fan following, and his books tend to have value. So this is a set of books, and this is only the first 3. There were 12 that came in this set. They were made by Dark Horse, which is another publisher you should be on the lookout for. Their books tend to be pretty popular. Right there, you could identify the icon for the publisher there with that little horse right there. And if you had all 12 of these, it would go for between $80 to $90 if they were in decent condition. This is issues 1, 2, 3. And, you know, people will get the first 3 of something because they want to start off a series. So, you know, it's not unreasonable someone might purchase this. I mean, someone's trying to sell 4 of them right now for like $37, $38, has a watcher on it. So I would say you could probably sell these first 3 for like 10 bucks a piece. You know, probably sell them together for you know, for $29.99 or something like that. And these are not significantly damaged. There's some minor wear on it, but it's not really a big deal. So these are good. These are some good ones that we got out of here. And while I have the camera on, and I can't pass this up when I see this, this is Lady Death. And Lady Death is super collectible. I've done very well with her, and this is one of these things where even though we've got some wear on the bottom of the cover, this is actually a hardcover, so I'm happy to see that. You know, we've got a little bit of, you know, of corner wear here at the end of the spine, but she's such a popular character, and I've done so well with Lady Death that this is something that I will still try to sell, as long as inside the book we don't have any major problems or major issues. And so far I'm not seeing any. The pages turn really good. They're not crinkling. They're not really warped or anything like that. So looks like we are in good shape with Lady Death. If you ever see Lady Death, you should definitely pick it up. Every single time I've had a Lady Death item, it has sold. This is a limited edition. I'm actually going to check the comp for this one in a moment. In fact, look at that. It's limited to 10,000 copies. Now, that's a lot of copies, but still, when you have a book that's limited and we're not dealing with millions of copies, that is good. You know, obviously, if it was limited to 500, that would be better. But let's look this one up and see what it's going for. So this one goes for about $25 to $40 in decent shape, and so I'm hoping that I could get at least 20 bucks out of this one, and I'll be happy. All right, so this is the basic rundown here. This stack right here, these are the ones that I'm able to salvage and that I could resell, and these are the ones over here that I cannot resell as individual books or in lots, but like ones like this I'm going to keep, and we're going to do little art projects with these and crafting projects, and so that's why we're going to hold on to some of these. But other ones here, they're just like so damaged that I just have to toss them. You know, you can't even donate them or anything because they're just so damaged. But you know, we did run the risk of that all of the books that were in there could have been severely damaged, like some of the ones I showed you. So the way I am going to look at it, I am not going to, this is a good idea about talking about frame of mind, because I am not going to over focus on this stack and items being damaged and feel like that opportunity's been ruined and get depressed about it. I'm instead going to focus my attention on these items here, and that most of them are in decent shape, and that I could even use some of these for these little projects and stuff. And so, you know, the few that I have to toss away, oh well, that's just, you know, part of what happens sometimes. I'm not going to dwell on it. You just have to have a short memory, just move on past this stuff, get rid of it, and focus on the stuff that, you know, is good quality and that you could do something with. And just in case you're wondering, before we go on to some of the actual comic books and not more of these graphic novels and trade paperbacks, I showed you all the items here that had value and that were interesting in terms of be on the lookout, things you should know. Everything else here is just kind of pretty standard. I mean, you probably know that if you find Star Wars that you should, you know, pick it up. So there's some Star Wars items and stuff like that in there. But there's nothing here that I found that I'm not telling you about that's important. So I just want to make sure you knew that. Okay, so I'm starting to go through some of the comic books that Mrs. Primetime had sorted for me. And one of the things she found was a nice stack of these nice old 1980s Transformers comic book. So again, if you don't know anything about comic books, like Christine jokes around, I don't know anything about comics, you know, one of the things you should look for are stacks of old Transformers books because they sell well. Like as an example, you know, you could sell like 14 or 15 random Transformer comic books for like 25 bucks, you know, and the higher the amount that you have, you know, the better you're going to do with it. Now these, some of them go sequentially. You could see the issue number right over here. So, you know, we've got, you know, 50 and 51 and 52 and 53 and 54 and 55. So the more continuous the run of the book is with the issue numbers, the better you're going to do in terms of being able to sell them, because people want to be able to read a continuous storyline. But they will purchase what we call mixed lots, in which, you know, you have some things that are jumbled up, like an issue 9 and then it jumps to 15. People will still buy them because they want to get some of those earlier issues. But one of the things that I have to do at the end of this whole unboxing is I've got to integrate the different boxes together. Like you can see over here, I've got a bunch of Transformer comics that we found from other unboxing videos. So, you know, I just have to integrate that together here, and I'll do a little bit of that tonight, and ultimately at the end it all comes together. And that's why I wait. And that's a little tip for you if you ever buy these big collections. Don't just sell these all off right now. Like, don't just take these, however many there are, let's say there's 20, and sell them all off, because you don't know what's going to be in the next box. And so, you know, if it's something like, you know, New Mutants 98, you know, of course you could sell that individually. But if it's something like this, hold off, wait until you have all the unboxing done, and then combine it together, and you'll max your value out of your comic lot. Okay, let me just do a brief little discussion here on the X-Men, because you're going to come across a lot of X-Men comic books when you are outsourcing. And the series that you want to zoom in on the most would be the Uncanny X-Men. That is the original series. Everything else after that was spin-offs, you know, including this one here, which is called X-Men. That is not the original series, and there's a billion of these around. You're going to see them all the time. Don't get tricked into thinking you have something that's very valuable, because it's not. Again, they overproduce these books, so there's so many of them out there that you could even see here, we've got 2 of them. A lot of people collected them, put them in bags and boards because they thought they were going to be worth something. The problem is about 10 billion other people did that, and so as a result, they're still flooded in the market. There's not a lot of them. They just don't have much value because of that. So the original X-Men, though, the Uncanny X-Men, that's a different story. And what you want to do, my advice would be sign up for a free account on comics, that's with an S, priceguide.com. And I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but what you could do is when you log into that, it will tell you prices once you have an account, and you will just be able to scroll through, and you could scroll through, it'll be like, you know, you go to issue 228 and 240 and 242 and 247, and it will give you values. Now those values don't necessarily correspond to what the actual market value is, but if one jumps out, like let's say they're saying this one's worth 4, this one's worth 5, this one's worth 6, and then all of a sudden it says this one's worth 50, you know, that's something that you want to pay more attention to and then look into it more. And that's how I use that price guide. And it will also tell you if there was something key or important that happened in one of these Uncanny X-Men issues. And so, you know, depending on the issue, you know, you want to, you know, pay attention to that information, and you'd want to kind of, so your chance of finding a golden nugget is going to be much higher in the Uncanny X-Men books than the other X-Men books. So just keep that in mind when you're looking through them, to try to pick out which one might be the most valuable one in there. Okay, so another 2 books that have the letter X in it that you're going to see a lot when you're out there are X Factor and X Force. Neither of them have significant value. You know, it's like anything else. If you get enough of them, like if you lot up a giant amount of them, then yeah, you could sell them off. But in terms of individual ones, no, you're not going to find ones in here that are worth a ton of money. In fact, this book right here, you really should pay attention to, especially if you're new to comics, because you're going to see this one out there the most. It really is one of the most overproduced comics of all time, and generally when you find it, you're going to see it in the original plastic bag, like not a plastic bag like this, but they actually produce this in a plastic bag, and it has a card in the back of it, like a trading card. And there's so many of them out there still. Do not bother picking this up. In fact, if you want to get a sense of how the value of this series is just not significant, if you look at this one here, this is actually the second appearance of Deadpool. Now, I told you what the first appearance of Deadpool goes for. This second appearance, just as like a regular kind of comic book like this, not graded, even if it's in decent shape, this is like $10 or less book, generally less than $10. So, and that's a second appearance. And that, by the way, goes to show you the difference between a second appearance and a first appearance. First appearance drives all the value. The second appearance, no one really cares that much anymore with the second appearance. It's really the first appearance that's the crucial one that people are willing to shell out the big bucks for. And you know, it's pretty funny. If you're still hanging with me, and I hope OGC is watching this, because the contest last night was what was OGC's middle name, and it turns out to be Gideon, and there we've got Gideon right there on the cover. I never realized that before. I never knew. I didn't even know OGC's middle name until last night anyway, so I never would have put two and two together. But that is kind of funny. I got to tell him that to check this out, so he needs to let people know that his middle name appears on New Mutants 98, the first appearance of Deadpool. So I'm sure he's going to be pumped up to hear that. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, make sure you go to the interview that I did last night. You're going to see that in my interview section. Just search on my channel for the interview with OGC. It was a great time. It was a really fun show, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. And go follow him as well, OGC Resale on YouTube. Okay, so this is what's left of the comic books that was in that second box that we pulled out from the corner of that pallet. And these are all just kind of random books that didn't fit within the Transformers and all those X titles. So we're going to take a look here and see what we've got, and then this will be the end for tonight. So let's take a look. Okay, so here we go. We've got Aliens versus Predator. Anytime you see Aliens and Predator combined together, that is a good sign. And so if you get a big enough lot together, those will sell. This is kind of looks like Mrs. Primetime here, so people wonder what she looks like, and she won't go on camera, but yeah, not too far off, I guess, with that one. So anyway, we'll move over here. We've got some random comic title here. This is not one that I know of having much value. Plus, you can see here, this one's actually curved upwards, so this one is probably just not really worth anything. So I'm just going to put this one actually to the side. All right, Warrior Nun Ariella, I have talked about her before, but get a little lot of books with her together, and they will sell. I've sold her many times before, and I know I have other books of hers in this collection. So Evangeline is another one I have done well with also. So again, you know, this is a #1 issue. Get other Evangeline books together, and again, you're going to do well with Evangeline. Although a #1 issue of Evangeline, you could probably do well with that by itself, but I know I have other ones of those around too. In addition to X-Men, you're going to see a ton of Avengers titles out there. And Avengers are popular right now with the movie, so, you know, but there's just so many Avengers books out there that the market is kind of flooded with them. So it really depends on the issue. Just like the X-Men, I would say you just look them up and see if you could find any value in any particular issue that you're going through. This says Avengers West Coast, and it's also known as the West Coast Avengers. So you'll see two different titles for that, but it is the same thing. And it, it really drives people crazy in terms of how to file them, because you've got half of them filed as Avengers West Coast and half of them then filed under West Coast Avengers. Some people just combine them together no matter what. You could see there we've got a corner crease on that one that I will just kind of undo, just like that. Just peel it back up, just kind of push it down like that, and then just lay it flat down so it stays kind of flat and doesn't curl up again. Aquaman, the recent Aquaman movie was very popular. I love picking up Aquaman comic books. They don't tend to be worth a ton unless you have some of the really old ones, and even those aren't worth a ton. It's kind of surprising to me because he's such a cool character. He's my second favorite character. But anytime I see Aquaman, I just like to pick it up. If nothing else, I just keep it for myself. Birds of Prey it's okay, it's a decent title, but you've got to have a really big grouping of them to sell them on eBay. So I hold on to those, try to get them in lots. Anything here that's just kind of like a random title, I'm going to move and pass by. This is Cable #1. He is a popular character, but the Cable books, really, if you really want to do well with a Cable book, it's really the first appearance of Cable that I talked about earlier with New Mutants 87. So you could do well with that if you find it in good condition. This is another classic X-Men book, so I will move those with my other X-Men comics. Conan the Barbarian, I love the title, but these ones right here, again, very, very common, and you're not going to do super well with old Conan books. You're going to do better actually with the magazine version, the Savage sort of Conan, especially if you have some of those earlier issues. You could do very well with that. Let's see, Countdown to Mystery. I'm just kind of showing you what's in here. We've got a mixture of like 80s books and 90s books and 2000s books. There's nothing in here that's like super old, which is kind of a bummer. We really like going through like those really old comic books. Those are much more fun to go through. These are all just kind of newer books that, oh, look here, we've got some Deadpool right here, Deadpool #2, so that is good to see that. So we'll mix that in with some other Deadpool books that I have. The Last Defenders, Detective Comics, which is Batman. So these are not worth a ton. Doom 2099, very common comic book title. So just keep kind of going through here. See if there's anything else. Dracula, any Dracula related book, I've said this before, put them aside and put them into lots. Even if they're different Dracula titles, people are very interested in Dracula, and so they'll like to pick them up if you have enough of them. ElfQuest, very good series. Highly recommend picking them up again, selling them in big lots if you could find them, 10, 20, 15, whatever. And you could do well with that. Executive Assistant, let's see, that's not really something that's worth much. Fantastic Four, popular title, but you really have to have some older and key issues to do well with them, because there's just so many of them out there that there's just a lot of issues that just don't have much value. Michael Turner's Fathom. I've talked about Michael Turner before. Very, very popular artist. I have a lot of Michael Turner Fathom books, and they will do well because he is deceased and his work is sought after. So it's always good when you could come across anything by Michael Turner, especially Fathom, because he is most well known for that series. Fear Itself, not worth much. Let's see, Deathstroke, also not worth much. Secret 7, Flashpoint, none of these things are really worth much. These are just modern books right here that we're seeing. Forgotten Realms, I like this. It's related to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. You could see TSR there. If you get enough of a grouping of these together, then you will be able to sell them, but you got to have a big group, and that's true with a lot of comic books. Here we see another copy of the Gen 13 issue. Or in fact, it might even be the same issue. Miss Primetime probably just worked it in here to this little lot here. This one's not worth anything. Ghost Rider, you really have to have older Ghost Rider comic books for them to have value. These newer ones, really aren't that valuable. But if you put them together again into lots, that's the key with selling some of these less valuable books. G.I. Joe, very popular series in comic books, but you definitely want to get some more of the older ones, like the 75-cent ones, or even earlier than that. Put them into nice lots, and they will sell well as well. Let's see, what do we got here? Green Arrow, Black Canary, not worth much. Guardians of the Galaxy, if you have like the whole series, or if you have like some of the real earlier issues, you could do okay. Again, something that you have to lot together. It is a popular series, but you've got to lot it together in order to do well with it, unless you have some of those earlier issues. And you could see here, this is later titles. Heroes for Hire again, House of Mystery. Now, if you had old House of Mystery from back in the old days, that would be good. But these House of Mysteries right here, these are modern ones. They're not really worth anything. Again, unless you have them in big lots, then you could do something with that. Again, this one here, this is a modern book. Oh, this is good right here. Infinity Gauntlet. Now, if we have all of these, this series is worth a pretty penny if we have all 6. So let's hope that we do. And they don't look, doesn't look damaged at all. Oh, you kidding me? You see that? That stain right there really hurts. And this is why you have to have comic books in bags and boards, because this kind of crap is what happens, and it damages the books, and it really takes the value down. But let's see if we have all 6 of these things here. Number 1, and of course it's number 1 that has the stain on it on the back. The other ones probably don't. Let's see, number 2, number 3, stain, no stain. Let's see, number 4. Yep, we got number 4. There's supposed to be 6 of them. Number 5, good. And number 6, very nice. Plus the first issue of Infinity War. And this 4th issue, and there's probably other ones around. What I'll tell you about this series, if you ever see it, you should definitely pick it up, because if they're in near mint condition, which these aren't because of the first issue being one that has a stain in the back of it, but near mint, these 6 would go for about 150 bucks. So that's not bad. I'm still going to get good value out of them because the majority of the books here are in decent shape. This stain, again, does take the value down somewhat, but I'll still be able to sell these and get a good return on the overall investment on these. So this is another good find here, in addition to the Deadpool books. So plus with the Infinity War, that's nice as well. I'm going to put these aside for a moment. So that's good. Let's see, we've got anything that says zombie on it. I always like to see that. Not that these are worth a ton, but again, I'll just make lots of zombie books and put a whole bunch of zombie things together. Marvel Comics Presents, Marvel Universe Updates. Marvel Universe Updates are basically like encyclopedias of comic book characters. These are not worth a lot of money. It's the official handbook. I recently did a BOLO of the day on my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, on some cards that came out in the early 1990s for official handbook of the Marvel Universe that were put in some binders. And I sold them the other day for the cards. They were basically like this. They were just cards, and they went in these 3-ring binders, and I sold them for about $125, and they were like 200 or so of these cards in there. So those did well. Moon Knight, popular character, not so much when it's a newer series. And you'll know that, by the way, that it's a newer comic, because you can see it's going to say things sometimes up top like .com. If it sees .com, not really worth a ton of money. I just got to stretch for a minute because my back is killing me. Okay, continuing on here, just trying to familiarize you with some characters if you're not familiar with them. This is Prince Namor the Submariner. He's one of the oldest comic book characters around, actually. He's kind of like a anti-hero kind of character. This particular book, though, is a modern one, and it is really not worth a lot. You're going to see it around a lot. If you're new to comics, this is the kind of thing that could trip you up, because you're going to see number 1 and you're going to think, wow, I've got something worth a lot of money. But it's not, because it's newer. If you had ones that were from like the 60s and stuff, that's a different story. And I do have some of those, but that right there not worth a lot. New Gods is a good title, but you want the older ones, not the ones with the $1.50 price tag on it. So, you know, these are just not going to be worth a bunch. You've got to combine them with a bunch of other New Gods to get something out of it. New Warriors has never been something that I have found that really caught on. It's not something that I've ever resold and have ever done well with at all. So this is just you know, one of those titles where you just got to have a ton of them if you want to move them. So nothing really to speak of there. Same thing with Night Stalkers. Just again, one of those ones that just never really caught on. A lot of people have them in their collections, but don't really do well with it. Nightwing, nah, not just by itself. Not going to do much with it. This Predator is like something, if you wanted to, you can maybe lot it together with the Aliens versus Predator book, and we've got a bunch of different Predator books here, so that's good to see, because the Predator series are very popular, so I like to see a bunch of these Predator books in here. That helps, especially given some of the junkier titles we've had here today. Seeing Predator in here is cool. That's a really cool cover with that lion going after Predator. I like that. That's a good one. Quasar, another example of a book that could really trip people up who are new. He never really caught on, never really that super popular or anything like that. I liked reading it when I was a kid. I read this book when I was a kid, but you know, I like the character. But in terms of getting a lot of value out of Quasar books, it's just not there, folks. And you know, so you just got to keep that in mind. There's certain characters you can write down and look into more, and there's other ones that you should pretty much pass when you see it. This one here, let's see, not worth much. Sabretooth is like an enemy of Wolverine. You know, there's like some people out there that like Sabretooth and go after his books, and there he is right there, that's Sabretooth. But you know, again, it's not like one of these books where you're gonna make a ton of money on. Secret Defenders, no. Secret Six, you know, there used to be an older series by DC called The Secret Six, like way back in the day, like really old. Those books are worth a lot of money, but not these modern ones. This is just a reprisal of an old series. There's a bunch of them here. This is cool. Anytime I see Marvel Super Heroes Secret Wars, I pull them aside and I put them together. This is number 10 of 12, and I've shown you before that you know, you're going to see random ones of these books out there, and then you combine them together, put them into a lot, and you could sell them for like over $100. So if you have the whole set. So I'm going to put that aside because I have a special place where I put those whenever I find them. Silver Surfer, I already told you about him, favorite character, so I like to see some of those in there. Simon Dark, don't even know who that is. Spider Island, Spider Woman, nope, too modern, not really worth anything. Neither is this. Silver Sable, not worth anything. Again, not worth anything, just, you know, separate. With all these things, you combine enough of them, you'll be able to sell them. But there's a bunch, like for example, there's like a bunch of Silver Surfers in here. Let's see if there's anything else. It's really cool though. I have all these Silver Surfers because I love Silver Surfer, as I said. So Spawn, popular character. Unfortunately, this is creased here, so that's going to affect value. We're trying to flatten it out a little bit. But we've got Spawn number 13. That's just kind of a random book there. Again, the crease is really going to hurt the value on that. This character, not popular. Did I grab two things together? Let's see. No. Okay. Let's see. This one here, not popular. Thunderbolt, not popular. Not popular. Not popular. This is cool. This is an old 80s book right here, Visionary, so I don't know what this goes for right now, but you could see here, this is late 80s, so there still could be someone looking for this. This is issue number 2. Problem here is you could see there's all this wear along the spine here, sorry, right there, and that's really going to kill the value on this, because whatever audience this had, they're going to try to want to find this in high grade condition. They're not going to want damage to the side like that. Warlock, that's Warlock right there. You can identify him by this little collar that he wears. He has a cape.
He's kind of curly hair. He looks a bit, in my opinion, like Banshee. They could be difficult to kind of tease apart sometimes, but Banshee wears a striped cape. So that's one way to kind of figure out the difference between the two. This is Warlock again right here, the Infinity Witch. There's the New Warriors. Miss Primetime just jumbled that there. This is What If. I like the series, but this is a later series. There was an earlier one that's trickier to find, but it basically puts the characters in these what if situations and tells you what would happen. This is a newer series compared to the original series that came out. And again, you got to combine them together if you want to sell them online for it to make any sense for you. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Wildcats, worthless series. I don't really do anything with it when I find it. Some of this stuff is gonna just be sold in, like, maybe I'll do like a grab bag locally or something like that. Do like a little garage sale. Get rid of some of the comic books that don't have much value. Wolverine, if you had the original Wolverine comic books, the set of 4, which I have shown before, those are valuable, but these kind of newer Wolverines, not worth much.
All right, everyone. Well, that is the end of a successful unboxing video, primarily because of finding this book. Despite that there's some creases on it, like I said, I'd still try to get between $150, $175 out of this book. So sometimes, you have to buy big lots like that in order to dig something like this out. Someone who has this and is just displaying it individually, you're never going to get this for 15 cents. This is how you get books like this for 15 cents, is when you're buying a big lot. Now, of course, there's all those other books that we have to go through, and you have various options that you could do with the ones that are of lesser value. Like I talk about a lot is that, and I'm using the word lot, you could lot them together. I say that over and over again. That is one way to get rid of them. Another way is to do a garage sale where you're selling them for like $1 a piece. Or you can make like little grab bags out of them and sell them that way. You could take them to a comic shop, but if you do that, they're probably not going to give you too much for like a whole big box of comic books, but that's one way people try to get rid of them. You might get like 15 bucks for a big long box or something like that. They're not going to pay you that much. So that's why I try to just combine them together into big groupings and send them out that way. And even if you're not making a ton of money on it, like let's say you're only making like 15 bucks, 20 bucks or something like that, it all does add up. And so I found that it's worth doing it that way. So that's what I do. And then these are the ones where I really make like the big money on. The Infinity Gauntlet books were also a treat, despite that the first cover had some staining on the back. It was light staining. I mean, it's decent size, but it still will sell, having all 6 of those and the other ones being in decent shape. I'm still I'm gonna hope that I could maybe get $100 out of it, somewhere around that range. So we'll see. So overall, we're talking like 7 comic books, potentially somewhere around $200, $250, something like that. And I can't complain about that. That's a good night. And the other ones are just kind of gravy after that. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you have questions, let me know. I'm sorry I can't go through every single book in like tons of depth, because we'll just be here forever. So I just have to kind of pick my spots. But if you have questions on something, let me know. I'll try my best to respond to that for you. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what you're seeing and you're not a subscriber yet, because you will get notifications. If you hit the bell button, it will tell you when I have new videos coming out. You don't want to miss my live show interviews that I usually do on Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock. I have the Thrift Shop Hustler coming up this next Wednesday on May 22nd, so you don't want to miss that. He's got over 30 years reselling experience, and there's going to be lots of cool tips and information that you're going to get out of that. Also, make sure you follow me on Instagram. That's @prime_time_treasure. And don't miss out on the Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. We just crossed 9,000 members. There's tons of exciting things going on there. You got to join to find out. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, and I look forward to seeing you there. All those links are down in the description section, including links to things that I use to help out in my reselling business. They're Amazon links, they're affiliate links, so if you buy anything through there, I don't talk about it too much, but if you buy anything through there, that does help me. Anything you buy, it doesn't matter what it is. So that just kind of kind of things like that just help support the channel, even though it's not a lot. But anyway, I appreciate you sticking with it this far if you did, and I will see you all back at the next video, everyone. Take care.